In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the front lower ball joint on your Nissan Armada located behind the front wheels. Let's get started. Using a 21mm socket, we're going to go ahead and remove the lug nuts. Remove the tire. With the wheel off, we're going to go ahead and remove the axle nut. To get to it, we need to remove this pin. I'm going to go ahead and use a pair of needle nose pliers. We're going to bend the leg back. And now we're going to slide it off. In this case, because the pin got stuck, I'm going to go ahead and use some locking pliers. We're going to be replacing it anyways. Now we can go ahead and use a 32mm socket to remove this knot. The next thing we need to do before we move to the back of the axle, we need to make sure that the axle moves freely from the hub. I'm gonna go ahead and use a rubber mallet just to tap it. And as you can see, it moved inwards, so now we're good. This is gonna be your outer tie rod. Using a 22mm socket, we're gonna go ahead and remove this knot. All we need is to unhook it so we can move the whole assembly forward. So go ahead and take this off. And now I'm gonna go ahead and use a hammer to pop this arm off. When you do this, you wanna make sure you do not hit the treads. Just move the arm away. Moving behind the rotor assembly, we're gonna go ahead and remove this bolt. On the nut side, we're gonna use a 19mm wrench. And for the bolt, we're gonna be using a 17mm socket. Go ahead and take it off. Remove the bolt. Next up, I'm gonna use a small pry bar and a hammer, and I'm gonna wedge it in between this little gap to open it up. That's gonna help get the ball joint out. We're gonna go ahead and spray some rust penetrant to help the ball joint loose. Now I'm gonna go ahead and use a bigger pry bar to help me remove the ball joint. I'm gonna wedge it in between the ball joint and the knuckle and pull it out. When you get to this point, you can go ahead and push the axle in to give you more space. Now move the knuckle away from the arm. And now we can go ahead and use a ratchet strap to help us move this whole assembly out of the way. Now that we have access to the top of the ball joint, we're gonna use a flathead screwdriver and we need to remove this keeper. We're gonna go ahead and wedge it in between. And being very careful, you wanna make sure you have a hand over it so it doesn't fling and hit you in the face. Go ahead and do that. You wanna work your way around it. And go ahead and take it out. Now we can go ahead and use a ball joint removal tool. Just keep in mind the ball joint comes on through the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and use a 22mm socket for this tool to get the ball joint out. Go ahead and remove the tool. And here's the old ball joint. And here we have the new ball joint. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna use a rubber mallet and I'm just gonna hit it a couple times just so it stays there. Now we can go ahead and set the installation tool. Make sure that the tool is straight. And now we're gonna go ahead and tighten this, which should bring the ball joint upwards. Let's go ahead and remove the tool and take a look. So if you notice, it is not all the way up yet, so we're gonna have to give it a little more. Now we can go ahead and take the tool out. And that's what we want. You want to make sure that the ball joint is nice and seated and it's not crooked. Now we can go ahead and install the C-clip. Using a C-clip tool, we're going to go ahead and get it on it. And being very careful, we're going to go ahead and lock it into this groove. Once you have it in position, I'm going to go ahead and use a hammer just to lock it in. I'm going to go ahead and tap it all around. And it should look something like that. Now we can go ahead and take the ratchet strap off. Now we can move the knuckle back to the ball joint. Now we can go ahead and install the lower ball joint onto the knuckle. For that, I'm going to be using a screw jack just to push on the control arm up so it gives us enough space to install the ball joint. Go ahead and go up. We're going to be compressing the suspension a little bit so it gives us enough room to slide that in. You may have to tap the axle in to give us room. Using a rubber mallet and a small chisel, you can go ahead and tap onto the lower ball joint to get it into the hole. Go ahead and line it up. Now we can go ahead and lower this screw jack. Also, you could use a pry bar to help you. Using the rubber mallet, gently tap the bottom. We need to make sure we put some pressure underneath the knuckle to bring the suspension up. If you have any issues with the bottom ball joint going in, go ahead and tap it with a mallet. And now we need to make sure we remove the screw jack. Now we can go ahead and install the lower ball joint bolt. You may need to tap it. Go ahead and install the nut. Now we can go ahead and get it snug. We're going to use a 17mm wrench on one side and a 19mm socket on the nut side. Do not tie it all the way yet. Go ahead and install the tie rod. Get it in. And install the nut. Go ahead and get it snug. Do not tie it all the way yet. Now that we have everything snug, we're gonna go ahead and put some pressure on the suspension as if the vehicle was on the ground. For this, we're gonna be using our screw jack. We're gonna go ahead and put it on this point, and we're just gonna apply some pressure as if the vehicle had the tire on and wheels on the ground. This is so we can get everything torqued down. Now we can go ahead and torque down the lower ball joint. We're gonna be going to 65 foot-pounds. Go ahead and get it torqued. Now we can torque down our tie rod. We're gonna go to 40 foot-pounds. Now we can go ahead and take the screw jack off the vehicle. Get it away from the vehicle. Now we can go ahead and install the axle nut. Go ahead and start it by hand. And now we can get it snug. Now we can go ahead and torque down our axle nut. But before we do so, I'm gonna use a small flathead screwdriver. I'm gonna go ahead and wedge it between the rotor and the caliper. So when I rotate this, it locks it in place. Now we can go ahead and torque the nut to 120 foot-pounds. And if you see, now it's gonna get locked with the screwdriver. Go ahead and remove the screwdriver. And now we can install the pin, slide it in. And we're gonna go ahead and bend this arm. And now we're gonna go ahead and bend this leg. Install the tire. Install the lug nuts by hand. And now go ahead and snug them up in a star-shaped pattern. With the vehicle on the ground, we're gonna go ahead and torque the lug nuts to 98 foot-pounds in a star pattern. Now you want to make sure you take the vehicle on a test drive and bring the vehicle to an alignment shop to get professionally aligned, and that'll be job done.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.